Hello everyone, I thought I'd narrate this video to show you a bit about what goes through my mind when I'm flying FPV. As you can see, I've picked a fairly open landing zone. There's a fair bit of space for me to take off and land. There are some power lines to the left there which are of concern, but I don't plan on flying in that direction, so they're not too much of a worry. I'm going to be flying off to the right, which there is a nice big open field. So as you can see, I don't waste any time getting away from the road and over into the field. And right now I'm flying in horizon mode, which is keeping the craft fairly level until I get a bit further out. Right now I'm getting a feel for how much pressure I need to keep the craft against the wind in one spot. And at this point in time I've switched into manual mode, so I'm now flying on my own. And I'm just turning around to get an idea of what the landing zone looks like from the air, because everything looks different once you're up in the air. And it can be, sometimes there are things or obstacles you don't see until you get in the air, so it's important to familiarize yourself with what the landing zone looks like, so when you come back in you can find it again. And now I'm heading out to see how things go. This is the first time I've gone flying in this location, so anytime I'm flying in a new spot I like to get a little bit of distance and then fly home again, just so I can be sure that I can find my way back without too much trouble. So at this point I'm probably 200 meters away, and I'm shortly going to turn and head home. Probably around 300 meters away at this point. And I'm going to turn to the direction that I think is home and head that way. And I think right now that this ridge up ahead is the ridge that I took off from. Through the goggles the resolution is not very good, so it's often difficult to make out land features. And around about this point in time I realized, no, this is not the right place, so I refer to my on-screen display, which has a little arrow that points my direction home, and the arrow says go this way. And as I get a bit closer to the road I can make out my car at around this point, and it makes me feel warm and fuzzy that I haven't gotten lost. So now I can fly out again. Right now I don't really have any destination in mind. I'm just sort of flying around to see what's around and explore the landscape. And right here I noticed that it's the Brisbane River, which I didn't even realize I was that close to. So that was quite surprising for me when I was flying to discover the river there, which is pretty cool. Right now I'm around 600 meters from my launch point, and my video link is starting to get a little bit hazy because I'm only flying on the skew planar antenna, which is not directional, so I'm not quite in the cone of angle for my helical antenna right now. So I turn around and I decide to explore this ridgeline a little bit more. So now that I've been flying at some altitude for a while and I'm a bit more familiar with and more comfortable with my surroundings, I decide to lose some altitude and fly a little bit closer to the ground. So as I start flying closer to the ground here, my video link starts to drop out and I decide to get some altitude, which fixes that problem quite quickly. The reason the video link was dropping out is because my video transmitter antenna on my aircraft is pointed down, which is good when you're high in the air, but not so good when you're close to the ground. So at this point though, the transmission strength is crystal clear again. As I turn and start to descend here, my plan was to skim across the treetops that you see up ahead, but the light from the sun is going straight into my camera and I get a bit of lens flare at this point, and rather than risk trying to fly close to the trees and I can't properly see, I just get a whole lot of altitude and spin right past them. So I'm coming up on 8 minutes into my flight now. I'm starting to feel a lot more comfortable with the area and also with the wind, which seems to be fairly constant and not too gusty. So at this point I decide I'm going to take a nice little run down the gully here and do a bit of proximity flying with these trees. So because this is my first flight of my first battery, I decided to come home at this point. My first battery is always a 3700 milliamp battery, which is a little smaller than my other batteries. So because I'm now have been flying for 9 minutes, I decided to come on in and land. I can generally get a bit more than 10 minutes out of the 3700 milliamp battery, depending on my flying style, but it's always good to play it safe. A little bit of wind here, which is blowing me around a bit, but I managed to get the aircraft over into the landing zone, and I want to land on that patch of grass to try and reduce the amount of dust that is thrown up by the propellers. And once I'm in position, I plonk it down. Not a perfect landing, but not bad. And now it's time to replace the battery and go again. So I hope you enjoy watching this video. If you'd like to see more of this sort of thing, then please let me know. And if you have any questions about my flight or my aircraft or anything like that, feel free to ask them in the comments. See you next time. Thanks.